Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about one of the important chapter, that is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. Photo means light and synthesis means put together. Put together. Plant using light, plant using light and put together some chemicals. This process is known as photosynthesis. These chemicals are nothing but glucose. Chemicals are nothing but glucose. If we see this equation or this process in a general sentence or a normal sentence, we can say like this: green parts of the plants utilizes inorganic compounds, inorganic compounds and synthesizes or manufactures complex organic molecules. Complex organic molecules. The inorganic compounds which is utilized by the plant, those are nothing but carbon dioxide and water. The carbon dioxide is taken from atmosphere, whereas the water is taken from soil. That's why we are calling them as inorganic compounds, which are not produced inside our body. It is taken from outside. So by taking these inorganic compounds, plants synthesizing or manufacturing complex organic molecules. What is this organic molecule? Organic molecule is nothing but these are the molecules which are produced inside our body. These are the molecules which is produced inside our body. The organic molecule which is produced inside the plant is known as carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. In chemical form, this carbohydrate which is produced inside the plant, we are calling it as glucose. These carbohydrates are mainly make up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen molecules, and among these three, hydrogen is twice to that of carbon and oxygen. To understand this, you have to know about empirical formula. Where you can understand this concept in a detailed manner. What is meant by carbohydrate in a detailed sense? Okay, up to now you have to remember that the carbohydrate is nothing but this is the molecule which is made up of carbon and hydrogen and oxygen atoms. Okay, now we will see the importance of photosynthesis. Yeah, there are two importance of this photosynthesis process. See, we are all living, right? We are all living in this earth. The main cause of living of all life forms on earth is photosynthesis. Why? Because photosynthesis is the primary source of food on earth, and it provides oxygen. Photosynthesis process. Through photosynthesis process, it provides oxygen to the atmosphere. It adds oxygen to the atmosphere. Okay, so to understand this, I will give one example. To understand this, I will try to explain this in a better way. That, see, plants having the green parts, right? Green parts. What are these green parts? Not only leaves but also young stems and fruits, right? Wherever these green parts are present, this photosynthesis will take place. But especially in leaves, we can see the more amount of photosynthesis harvesting. So in these areas, in these leaves, what we can see, the plants receive sunlight and it will harvest the food. That is nothing but glucose. This is what energy to the plant. This was energy or food of the plant. So the primary food on the universe, the primary food on this earth is created inside the plant, right? So from plant, the energy is transferred from one organism to another organism. For example, herbivores feeds on plants, so the energy from the plant is transferring to the herbivores. Herbivores can't prepare their energy by their own. They have to depend on plants. And whereas carnivores feed on these herbivores, so the energy which is stored in the herbivores is transferring to carnivores. So the primary energy is stored in plant itself. That's why in plant itself, right? So in plant, how it getting that energy? Through the photosynthesis process. That's why photosynthesis is essential. The photosynthesis is very essential and very important for the fixation of food or energy on this earth, right? That's why it is primary source of food. The process is primary source of food on earth. And the second one is oxygen. It liberates oxygen. To understand this, we have to see the empirical formula. We have to see the empirical formula. The empirical formula for the photosynthesis is 6CO2 plus 12H2O. Plant utilizes inorganic compounds, right? These inorganic compounds are carbon dioxide and water. 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 12 molecules of water molecules. Plant take these molecules, and in the presence of sunlight, it converting into organic compounds. Organic compound is nothing but C6H12O6. This is what glucose. This was glucose, and it also liberates byproducts like 6H2O and 6 oxygen. So finally we can see that liberation of oxygen through the photosynthesis process. Now I want to remind one thing to you, that I told you like carbohydrate is made up of carbon and hydrogen and oxygen, right? So here we can see that this is made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So this is what carbohydrate. I told you one more thing, that is carbon and in these 3 molecules, hydrogen is twice to that of carbon and oxygen. See here, carbon having 6 molecules and oxygen having 6 molecules, whereas hydrogen having 12 molecules. It is twice to that of carbon and oxygen, right? So this is what we can see in empirical formula. This is what we can see in empirical formula of photosynthesis. Now based on this, what we can see, we can give some titles to this photosynthesis process. We can give some titles to this photosynthesis process. The first title what I want to give is that it is a physico-chemical process. It is a physico-chemical process. Why it is a physico-chemical process? Because physical form of light is converting into chemical form, right? Physical form of light is converting into chemical form. That's why we are calling that photosynthesis is a physico-chemical process. And the next one is endergonic process. Endergonic process. For the preparation of this food, it utilizing free energy. No internal energy is required to preparation of this food. It using external energy, right? Simply using external energy like sunlight it is utilizing, and it prepares into food. That's why it is an endergonic process. And we can call it as an anabolic process. Why we are calling it as an anabolic process? Because the molecules which are present here, the molecules which are taken by the plant are constructed or build up a complex molecule. That is what glucose. So simple molecules gather together, and if it constructs a complex molecule, then we will call it as anabolic process. So photosynthesis is an anabolic process. By addition of small molecules, it prepares into a complex molecule. That's why it is an anabolic process. And the next one is, it is an oxidoreduction process. It is an oxidoreduction process. To understand this, you have to know what is meant by oxidation and reduction. Oxidation is nothing but losing of electrons. Reduction is nothing but gaining of electrons. I'm repeating again, oxidation is nothing but losing of electrons, whereas reduction is nothing but gaining of electrons. So in this empirical formula, we can see 2 compounds, that is carbon dioxide and water. Carbon dioxide we will see in a short way. First we will see with water. In water, what we can see, this H2O is splitting into hydrogen, electron and oxygen molecule, right? So here splitting is taking place. So losing of electron is taking place here. So what is this process? This is an oxidation process. The liberated electrons are added to this carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is there and hydrogen is adding, and oxygen is also adding to this carbon dioxide. So we can see carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So what happened? It building up, right? So it gaining electrons. So it is an reduction process. It is an reduction process. Hence we can say that photosynthesis is an oxido reduction process. This is what the introduction of the photosynthesis. Okay, we will see about some experiment and historical evidences of this photosynthesis in the next class. Thank you.